And that was the coverage that we had. And all was right with the world, or at least we thought it was, until in late 2024, our carrier refused to cover the squadrons and districts. And at that time, the chief commander says, we've got to go out and find coverage for the squadrons, and that's what we've been working on since then. It's been a struggle, but our coverage, we had coverage in place as of December 1. People didn't always know about it, and we weren't 100% sure of what it was, but we did have coverage, so there's been no gap in coverage. But it's important to sort of think about what we have now. The coverage isn't the same as we had before in many, many ways, and a lot of what we thought was covered probably wasn't. So what we've had to do is move forward and come up with coverage for our core activities that we all conduct and make that available to the squadrons and districts. And part of the issue that we've had to deal with our new carriers is that they had to come up with an understanding of the kinds of risks that we were involved with and what was going on. So we had to try and structure policies where we could identify and quantify the risk and make it available to our members in a financially affordable package. Because realistically, there are things going on. National doesn't know about everything. It cannot cover everything. It's just not it's not economically feasible, nor do we have the knowledge to do so. There's just not enough money in the bank for us to do that. But the core activities are covered, and let's talk first about classroom instruction. Now, there is coverage for you, for your liability coverage and casualty coverage for your classroom instruction. So this means if you're teaching a class in a building and someone slips and falls in the room because they tripped over a wire or for whatever reason, or trip and fall in the hall, there is coverage available to protect you from claims. Now, to get this coverage, what you need to do is you've got to file a form. There's a form online that you can file. It goes to the carrier, and you identify the location where you're teaching. And then you have coverage for your classroom actions in that location for the entire policy year through the end of November. So if you're going to be teaching 6 classes in this room throughout the season, you just identify the location and you have coverage for that physical location. So that's the way classroom instruction works. We also have professional liability coverage for your classroom activities. And by this we mean if you have any kind of educational malpractice, someone sues you because they say you didn't teach this course properly. So you have coverage for that as well. This cover also supplements the protection you have from the Volunteer Protection Act of 1997, which says that when you're engaged in activities in furtherance of an exempt purpose of a charitable organization and further of their exempt purposes, you are protected from negligence, general negligence claims. It's a form of Good Samaritan law. So this statute, the malpractice liability protection that we have, it gives you additional coverage, and it will help pay for any legal defense claims, that's costs that you might incur because someone says you taught something wrong. So even though you likely have no liability, substantive liability, because we know our materials are good and the statute protects you, the federal statute, this policy will be there to protect you from the defense costs. Now, another piece of the puzzle that you have is we have liability protection for boat shows. So if you're going to a boat show and someone wants to, you're being asked to provide a certificate of insurance, there's a policy in place, you fill out the form, you'll get a certificate back identifying that you have coverage and that If needed, the venue will be named as an additional insured. Talk a little bit about vessel safety checks, because that's another big issue that people have. Now, there is professional liability insurance for vessel safety checks. This is again that you have done an improper check on somebody's boat. So you have that insurance. You also have the protection of the Volunteer Protection Act. However, there is no coverage provided by our policies for VSC activities. And this is because, one, because we couldn't afford it, and number two, it's not really necessary. If you go to do a vessel safety check on someone's boat, you say to them, "May I come aboard?" I assume you ask if you can come aboard, and if that person grants you permission to come onto his boat, then he is assuming responsibility for you on that boat. Now, people have said, well, what happens if I slip and fall and I damage his boat, I break a seacock and his boat floods? When you're doing a vessel safety check, you're not supposed to be doing anything on a person's boat other than looking around, asking him questions, having him show you whether he has fire extinguishers. Does he have life jackets for everyone on board, and the various items on that list? You're not supposed to be poking your head into his engine room and into his bilge. You're supposed to be there, standing there or sitting there and having him show you what he's doing. Now, if you get off the boat and you slip on the dock, that's not USPS's responsibility. It's either the marina or yacht club if there's some deficiency in the maintenance of the facility, or if it's just you just slipped and fell, it's your own personal insurance responsibility. So there is no insurance for vessel safety checks, USPS insurance. Now, the other big item that we want to talk about, obviously, is on-water certification. And this has been a real challenge for us to get a policy in place. We do have a policy in place, but it's, as I said, it's been difficult. And what we've had to do is work with the insurance company to create risks, that, to describe the risks that we have that are in a manageable, understandable level for them. It just can't be wide open to whatever. I mean, they want to know exactly who's conducting the, first of all, they want to know exactly what materials are being handled on the water. So for this purpose right now, and I say this right now because this is the current state, we are able to do on-water training with hands-on training, with BOC certifications, and with various class extensions. So if you're if your marine navigation class wants to do has an on-water unit that's been approved by the education department, it is possible to have that undertaken under this program. Now, the other aspect of the marine program that's a little different, that's very different from what was, is that the insurance carrier has said, we want to have control over who is teaching these courses, or who is instructing or certifying or training, however you want to describe it, but the person responsible for what's going on water. So the Ed Department has set up a program to certify individuals who they attest are able to teach the materials and to impart the materials to students. So in order to get this insurance, you have to go to the Ed Department, and there is a portion of the website where they have all the materials available and the things that you need to do to qualify to be an instructor, a certifier, let's say, under this policy. So you have to have certain credentials. You have to not have had lots of, you can't have any DUIs or BUIs on your record. If you're above a certain age, as we all are probably, you're going to need a minimal health certification that you're competent to operate a vessel of the type that a specified vessel. All of this is spelled out in detail on the Ed Department website, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's there. Key that so if you qualify as under the Ed Department's criteria, you will be specifically scheduled on the policy as someone who's protected. But it's not only by name, it's also the location where you're going to be teaching or certifying. So if you're going to be working in Florida on the Gulf side, it'll be there. I mean, it's mainly to identify the location where you're going to be doing your work. So once you've engaged in that, you'll be covered under the policy as you as an instructor or certifier and USPS are protected under this policy in case there is liability because there's an accident on a boat, or you're being sued because you did something improperly. Now, it's important to keep in mind about the marine liability coverage is that this is what they call a secondary policy. It's protecting the instructor, the certifier, and USPS. The boat owner, the owner of the boat that's being used for these activities has primary responsibility if there's an accident and if there's damage to that boat or someone else's property. And that's generally the rule, as I understand it, under marine liability policies, is that the owner of the boat always has primary responsibility for liability if something goes wrong. Now, that's not to say they can't necessarily claim against us, but they have the primary responsibility for what happens on the boat. There are a series of procedures that will need to be followed if you're going to be teaching on-water any kind of on-water training activities. You're going to need to get a waiver from every student that participates. You're going to have to maintain proper records, and these records have to be submitted to the Ed Department and then retained, so that if claims are later brought, we have these materials on hand to protect us. The details on the waiver form is online, or all this material is online, or will be shortly if it's not there already. So that is the on-water training that we have to date. I know Miles asked me about Jump Start, and the issue that we've had so far is trying to quantify the risk and the control of Jump Start. And so far we have not managed to. We wanted to get these programs in place first before we went after trying to work Jump Start. I think my estimate of the way this is going to work, and I'm only giving you my opinion because I don't know for sure, is that what we will be able to do is take that group of scheduled instructors who are listed on the policy and add another activity that they are able to do, which is Jump Start, so that they will be able to say, if someone wants to have some personal coaching on their own boat or in a particular circumstance, that one of these individuals who are already previously vetted will be able to do so. I think the concern for the insurance company, and it's a proper one, is that under the prior arrangement, anybody, someone could come to your squadron and they could say, gee, I could like some help, and we'd go out and offer help. And that's fine. And I think many of us have done that with our friends and our on an ad hoc basis. But you cannot expect the national organization to provide insurance for something like that when they don't really know who's doing it, what their criteria, what their credentials are, and whether they're really the proper person to do this kind of training. And that's really the focus that we've had with the on-water activities so far. Another portion that I want to mention. Oh, a couple of other things. One thing which I forgot to mention before, because I think it's pertinent to a number of your squadrons, is that if you have your own facility, you've got your own building, you must have your own liability insurance and casualty insurance for that building. The national organization has never provided that. They will not provide it, and it's up to you to maintain that coverage for your building. The insurance that we have here will supplement that. So if, for example, you're teaching a class in your own building, I would still absolutely apply for the liability insurance that National has available, because it's there to protect you, and it's only additional protection. Another area that we've been dealing with is with D&O insurance. And I know we initially put out some information that said we were led to believe that we would have D&O insurance for all the squadrons at a national level, but that was erroneous. And just by way of information, having looked at the prior year's prior policies, even though we thought we had D&O insurance, I'm not entirely comfortable that we did, and I could read the policy as saying no, we did not for squadrons and districts. But there is clearly insurance available to you now. There was if you put in an application to our broker, they will get back to you for coverage within a couple of days. I know my squadron got a quote. We're a small squadron with no facility, not a lot of money, and $1 million of coverage was going to cost us $450 per year. And that provides coverage for the officers, for the directors. It also provides coverage for the entity if it's sued. So it's a pretty good deal. I would urge you to look at it and see if it meets your needs. If not, or you have another carrier, that's fine, but we want you to know that there is D&O insurance available. The price obviously is going to vary on the size of your squadron or district and where you're located, but it is at I think, a fairly reasonable price. The one thing we're not providing, we haven't talked about, is event insurance. And again, this is part of the difficulty that we have, in that National doesn't know what events are being conducted by the squadrons and districts. They have no control over those events, and to expect the National to insure those events, I think, is not feasible. And if, the irresponsible activities of one squadron or district and what they do can have, as we all know, can have very dire consequences for the rest of us. So we cannot do it. There's just no way you can expect the national organization to insure an activity that you guys undertake that they don't know anything about, they don't control, they can't prevent if they thought it was bad. So there is a program available through our broker for event insurance for specific events. If you feel you need it, you can apply online and get a quote. If that quote doesn't work for you, you can always go out. There are other purveyors online who offer event insurance. You might get a package from a local broker if you have a lot of things going on. There are many options, but it is available if you need it. I think one of the things that we've learned from this activity, this exercise over the last few months, is that we all have to think about risk management and what's involved with activities, and that we need to consider, first of all, do we need insurance for this activity? So if we're all meeting at a restaurant for dinner, or we're going to have a meeting at a restaurant and the restaurant is giving us a room, do we need to purchase event insurance for that? I don't think so in most cases, because the restaurant has insurance. They're providing you a facility that's theoretically safe and secure, and they should be covering you if someone slips and falls in the hall because their floor is wet. That's not on us. That should be on them. And there are certain kinds of events that you may not need insurance for. On the other hand, there are events that you may be undertaking that you want to think that you should think about insurance for, or you may be asked to supply it if you have a rendezvous, a poker run, a beach cleanup, any of these kinds of activities. Someone may say you ought to have some insurance. You may decide that there are serious risks and we want to have it. But I would also suggest that even in those cases where you don't think you need insurance, I would recommend strongly that you get people to participate, who are participating, to fill out a waiver and release. And there is a form for this that's posted or will be posted that you can use. And the reason we suggest this, it does several purposes. One is that it alerts people to the idea that there are things going on that, let's take a beach cleanup. I think that's a good example, where there could be glass, there could be syringes. People need to be careful, and this will give them some alert to the potential hazards that might be there. The waiver indicates that they should understand the risk, and if something happens and they decide to sue us, and there's not even whether or not we have insurance, this is part of the materials that we use for defending ourselves. You understood there was a risk there. It may not completely eliminate, it may eliminate our liability, it may partially eliminate our liability. It may not help us at all, but it certainly cannot hurt us to have someone acknowledge they have a responsibility in these kinds of activities. Now, in certain things, we strongly urge you get them. One is any kind of activity like that there's some risk, like a beach cleanup, on-water activities, and any activity where you have children involved, minor children. You should get a waiver, have the parent fill it out, a guardian for the child, and what we're doing is we've set up a portal, a site at national, an email address. You can email them in, scan them and email them in, so that we will have a way to hang on to them for a number of years in case someone sues us. The problem is that someone could sue us not now, something could happen. They could sue us in 2 years. And then it's, oh my God, where is that piece of paper that they signed? This way, we'll have them stored at national, at headquarters, and if we need to retrieve them, we can. The other thing I just want to keep in mind, you ought to keep in mind, is certain kinds of activities are really very, very fraught with risk, and a squadron ought to think twice about getting involved or how they're handled. Flares. Going out and having a flare demonstration. It's going to be very difficult, very expensive to get any kind of coverage for pyrotechnics, which is what these are classified as. So if you want to do something like that, I strongly urge that you contact your fire department, your first responders, let them run all of this. You just watch. Let them assume the responsibility. Another potential area that you have to be very concerned about is if you're serving alcohol. And if you're having a circumstance where you're setting up a bar and you're not providing a licensed bartender or someone who's a responsible person to run it, be very, very careful about those arrangements and make sure you handle them responsibly. Another area where I know people have had plans, and we've thought maybe you want to think twice about it, is having people that you don't know come and use power tools on something, like on a clearing brush or something, because people on power tools, if they don't know what they're doing, it's a potentially very dangerous operation. I've seen people using chainsaws to cut off hurricane debris, and I was scared out of my mind that they were going to chop their leg off. I mean, they were using their own chainsaw, fortunately, but thinking about that scenario, if you're going to do something like that, please get a waiver at the very least. Look into insurance and think twice about whether this is really something that we want to be involved in. I'm just going to, one last point, and then I'll let you fire away with your questions, because I assume you have some. I know people have been very disgruntled about what they feel is a lack of communication and a lack of transparency. I want you to understand that we've done our best to get this information out as accurately and as fully as we can, as quickly as we can. We've been very unwilling. We've tried to not put things out unless we know they're right, and things keep changing. And rather than saying yes, A, and then finding out it's B, we've been a little slower than maybe we should have. I will tell you that we spent the last 2 weeks basically trying to finalize a whole new presentation, which is going on the website. As soon as IT gets it up there, it's gone to them, and it's got links to a lot of the information that you need, and to the forms that you need, and cross-reference to the Ed Department, and to the vessel safety checks, and all of this information, so that hopefully it will give you more information, more clarity, and help you navigate these new waters. So that's sort of what I have to say. I know if you've got questions, please, I'll try to answer them as best I can. Go ahead. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions. Just make sure I can hear them. So that's my only question. My only concern.
You've referred several times to the website. Are you referring to the Treasurer's website, or is there going to be an insurance website set up?
I think it's going to be on the Treasurer's website. I don't know exactly, but you'll be able to find. I think it may come up. It's entirely possible that when you open the members portion of the website, and I don't know, because I've not gotten involved in this. It may very well be that when you open the main page, there'll be something that says insurance update and a link to the Treasurer's website. But it'll be in a place where it should be in a place where you can find it.
Thank you. Also a comment. Our squadron had a special event going that involved us going on a boat. 2 weeks in advance, we submitted a request for an insurance quote to the insurance company being used by National. We got the quote 2 weeks after the event.
I'm sorry, I can't respond to that.
Just an idea that it's not working right.
I can't respond to that.
Hi, I'm Ted Reese from the Marco Island Power Squadron. Got a couple of questions. My first one is, are we covered on info that we create ourselves? It's not part of the published, documented, labeled Power Squadron material.
For what purpose is this material being prepared?
It would be, for instance, to describe the local waterways around our island.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because we have in other words, we do have material. You're saying for what, for malpractice purposes?
Well, I guess you mentioned that instructors are generally covered under, I think you said the liability portion, but I'm not exactly sure which one. But if we create something ourselves and try to offer it to our local people on the island, but it's not a sanctioned USPS labeled, etc., part of any one of the courses, but it's of interest to the people in our location, would that still fall under an overall coverage for the instructor?
No, I think not, because I think you said the key word, sanctioned and approved. We can only cover those things that we know we have approved and have been, have been reviewed and vetted by the education department. We can't be responsible for something that you create that we have no control over. I mean, I think the answer is no.
Okay, thank you. My next question is on the event log form. One of the sections, it's number 7, says for us to name of the designated operator, the person scheduled on the marine liability policy. My question is, must the designated person be the operator of the vessel? Can the designated person just be on the boat and somebody else is doing the driving? Is there any distinction there?
The designated operator, that's the person that's scheduled on the policy, correct? First of all, they call him an operator. The policy refers to this person as an operator. That's why that term is there. That is the person that the insurance company views as in charge of the boat. I guess it's somewhat analogous to a captain. So he is responsible for the person, for what is happening on that boat. If a student, a trainee, is the person is running the boat, has their hands on the wheel, has their hands on the tiller, the operator is the person who's still responsible. So he has the coverage in case something goes wrong.
Okay, so the question, or the word then, operator, doesn't mean the person literally with their hands on the steering wheel.
Correct, because it could be other people on the boat at different times. In other words, you may go out, as I understand it, for a session, and there may be 3 or 4 different students or trainees or whatever on the boat, and at different times people are doing different. Not one person is handling the boat the entire time they're out, I'm assuming. It's possible.
Okay, so we would not need to get the names of the 3 or 4 people actually driving the boat, only the person whose name is on the policy.
No, we need to know whomever is on the boat, because we need a waiver from every person who is on those, every one of those people who is not the operator have to give us a waiver. So we need to know exactly who's on the boat and for each session, and we have to have a waiver from every one of them. Because let's take a scenario. Let's say we have an instructor, a certified instructor who's taken out 3 students. And let's say there's an accident and several people are injured. We want to know who was on that boat. We need to know exactly who was on that boat. And we also want to have a waiver from every person on that boat that says, I understand there are risks involved with my coming on this boat.
Okay, thank you. My last question is, when will we be able to actually see a written policy? And I ask that because I had an opportunity to look at the previous policy. It's not in effect, all kinds of problems with it. But after I actually read the policy, I started finding out the places where we were not covered. So I would like to know what's really in the written policy. I know you've worked very hard with other people trying to get where we are, so I thank you very much for that. But so it's sort of a question, when in the future will we be able to actually see what's the written part?
I don't know exactly when that's going to be. We still are waiting for certain policies to see final copies. I don't know that we want to, it's a policy decision that's going to have to be made about whether they're very concerned about having them circulate, because what ends up happening is that people look at them, they draw conclusions. They're incredibly complicated because they're all kinds of, there are endorsements and exclusions, and it's very, very difficult to put together. And then everyone says, well, I read it this way and I read it that way. I don't know when, I can't tell you when that's going to be available, because it's just not something that a decision that has to be made not by me but by the board as a general rule. I mean, I personally would prefer not to have them circulating around, because I think it's not healthy for the organization, because the other thing is that people get their hands on them and they can get circulated and use them for other purposes to try and look for reasons to sue and so forth. So right now, I can't tell you, I can't answer that question when that would be.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Mark Koski. I'm the commander of Lakeland Salem Power Squadron. So it's a general question, but our executive committee brought it up to me and I can't answer it. So my question is, generally speaking, we've been told that we are covered for meetings and our classroom, the ABC3 classes in our classroom, not on the water, just regular classrooms. So what are we covered for? Literally, what are we covered for?
Your classroom, do you have a facility, or you just have, you don't own your own building or lease or what?
We do not own our own facility. We have our meetings at a country club, and they have never requested an insurance certificate. And we have our classrooms at a marine, a boat supply company. They sell boats, but they allow us to have our classes there. So they've never asked us for an insurance certificate. But again, the general question is like, all right, we have coverage. What is that coverage? What are we covered for?
Clear. All right. First of all, for your classrooms, I'm glad they didn't ask you for a certificate, because then you should never volunteer those things. They have coverage for activities for their facility, their commercial facility. You should register your location, that you teach in this location, and all your classes that are held at that location, you will have liability coverage for your instructors. Because what would happen if someone slipped and fell at the class outside the door of your classroom, they're going to sue you, and they'll sue your squadron and say, well, they'll sue anybody they can get their hands on. So registering, you have coverage for that, provided you register the location. You do that once, you fill out the form, you send it in, you'll get a statement back pretty quickly. My husband registered a place, it took him about 2 days to get it. So that provides you with liability coverage for your instructors and for you at that location for your squadron. I would do it. It's available for you. As far as your meetings at the country club, you do not have coverage for an event there. Your meetings are not covered. The country club has liability coverage. You're protected there. I'm assuming you're going there, you're meeting, you're sitting around a table, you're eating and you're drinking, but that's what you're doing. Maybe you have a speaker. There's nothing, I mean, it's not really a whole lot different than if you decided to go out to have dinner at a restaurant, or you decided to meet your friends at the country club, irrespective of whether they were Power Squadron people or not. It's not the sort of circumstance where there's liability beyond, unreasonable liability beyond going out and living your daily lives. I think we all have to think about a situation that we're in circumstances where we always have exposure. I walk across the street, I go out on my boat, I invite friends on my boat. There's liability. I go on other people's boats. There was liability in all of those circumstances, and I don't think about insurance. I have my insurance on my boat for damn sure, but first of all, they didn't ask you for it, so it certainly wouldn't get it. That means they've got insurance. They're not going to invite you to their facility without insurance. But for the classroom, definitely you have that coverage. It's paid for. It's there for your protection, and you should take advantage of it.
All right, so my two additions to my question is my squadron education officer, which he has submitted the forms request for coverage at both locations, both for meetings and classrooms, but at the country club, we occasionally, once or twice a year, will have an advanced class at the country club. So we have submitted the applications, but Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't gotten anything from Corps insured. It's just the application is filled out. So that's part two is I've been told, and I'm just a dumb engineer. I need to verify everything. Errors and omissions, which in the industry I call it professional insurance. So as a professional engineer, for errors and omissions, I'm an instructor, So are we covered for, if we give information to somebody and it ends up being incorrect, are we covered for that, for errors and omissions?
Well, we have a professional liability policy, which is, what you're referring to, and it protects you for teaching, as I said, USPS classroom materials. In other words, we will protect you if you're teaching what we have supplied in our curricula. You're protected. If you tell somebody something that has, you give instruction on something that we don't teach. Let's say diesel mechanics.
No, we use USPS material.
You have protection for that. You do have protection for that, absolutely. And that's there. You don't have to do anything to get it. It's there. It's there.
Okay. I just want a clarification with both of those, so thank you.
That's fair. And I can't respond to the delay in getting certificates in. I know they've been busy. I know that all I can do is I will pass on the concern to the broker that we are, people feel they're not getting the response on certificates as quickly as they need it. So I can't answer. The one circumstance, I know somebody got it in a couple of days. Beyond that, I don't know, but I will pass on the complaint.
And the same thing, I'm not complaining to you. Our executive committee wants a quote for officers and directors coverage, liability insurance. I submitted our Form 990 in whatever they requested. I submitted that. It's been 2 weeks, no response. So Michael said I'm not hearing anything.
I will ask. I know that my squadron submitted and got a quote pretty quickly. I don't know what's going on. Again, all I can do is I'll pass on the concern because I know they are processing them. They may just be working through the pile because they have them. But your point is well taken, and I'll pass it on. I'll be happy to pass it on.
Again, not complaining to you. I just wanted to.
I understand. You're welcome to pass it on.
Thank you.
We've got to move on.
Hey, Ruth, Mike Silve from Manatee. I want to give you a comment and then also a question. So the comment is I'm going to pile on CORE because I also had two negative situations with CORE where I applied for event coverage, and in both cases I did the application online, sent it to CORE, crickets. I got nothing back. So my recommendation to you all is at least let's set up a service level agreement where they're obligated to, if they receive an application, within 24 hours give us acknowledgement that they received the application, and then maybe have either 72, 90, whatever the adequate amount of time for them to get back to us so we know they.
I will certainly raise that with them, and I will pass it on. Point well taken.
Okay. The other point is the waivers. So we're hearing a lot about waivers. Everybody needs to sign waivers. I'm not an attorney, but from what I've heard, and I've stayed at a Holiday Inn, is that waivers don't really mean anything. They're just a piece of paper. What's our waiver look like, and how is that different from something that could be dismissed?
Well, first of all, it depends. Remember, we're doing waivers that are used in all 50 states, and these have been looked at by attorneys, trust me. I won't say, sometimes they're helpful. They may not be helpful in every place, in every state, in every circumstance, but they don't hurt. A waiver will never hurt you because you ask somebody to acknowledge the risk. It may not get you points at the end of the day if something happens, but it won't hurt you. The fact that you ask someone to acknowledge, so that's the only thing I can tell you. Every state is different. I don't know what Florida's rules are on waivers, so I can't begin to, I wouldn't answer the question. I know in New York they have some value. They're not, it's not bulletproof. It's not going to absolutely get you out of the woods necessarily, but it's better to have it than not to have it. And that's why we put them, that's why we're urging people to get them. Part of what we're trying to do is people are in a more litigious situation. Everybody's looking to sue. And if you have a waiver, it may discourage some people from suing, or they may feel, their case might, if you can say to someone, you understood what the risks are, and you signed this piece of paper, and you acknowledged it, and the fact that you fell, hey, Not every time somebody gets an injury or something happens is their fault. And we're just trying to get that point across and trying to give as much protection for ourselves as we can.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Good afternoon, Ruth. How are you? First, let me thank you for the tremendous amount of work I know you've been doing. But I did rise to ask a key question, I think. Because I have been for some time the District 22 law officer, I am often asked the question, do I have the coverage or don't I? And my universal response is, you do not. You do not, because I have no evidence whatsoever that you do. Therefore, as an attorney, I must advise you do not. I understand you're having problems on the issue of whether you distribute too much. As a district law officer and looking out for the members of District 22, my view is that we are a definite third-party beneficiary of your work. We are much appreciative of it if we can prove it in court. At this point, we cannot. You have said you do not know when that will change. Let me first urge you to argue at the highest level. This must be provided. It's not maybe. It has to be must. And if you decide not to produce the entire policy, that will be your decision. But at the very least, the coverage pages should be provided so that I am in a position to advise District 22 and its members whether or not they are covered. Thank you.
I'll respond very quickly. I appreciate your concerns. I will tell you, first of all, as I told Bob, I would not tell you the policies were in place if they were not. Have any of you, let me ask a question. Have any of you applied and received a certificate of insurance from our broker? Is there a show of hands? Has anybody bothered to get a certificate of insurance? Have you looked on the certificate of insurance what it says? I have one in front of me. This is one, I'm just going to, this is a certificate of insurance that my husband got for teaching his class. It lists policy names, policy numbers, date of insurance, limits of liability. This is what they call an Accord Certificate of Liability Insurance. These are sort of the forms that when you ask for a certificate of insurance, you get it. You have on this statement a list of policies and how much coverage you have under these particular policies, the date the policy went into effect. I view this as evidence of insurance that you have in your hand. It's called a certificate of insurance that you give to a third party. Take a look at that certificate and you'll see the evidence of insurance. I know Bob and I have had this discussion. I would not tell you the policies were in place if I didn't believe that to be the case. I've seen the policies. We have certificates of insurance being issued to you. We have representations from the broker that the policies are in place. And I think if you don't take advantage of it, I can't help you there. But if you apply for a certificate and you get a copy, you'll see on that certificate statements of how much coverage you have. Professional liability, $2 million. General liability, $1 million for your classroom. It's there. I can't tell you more than that.
Perfect. Ruth, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us. Ruth, we really do appreciate it, and we appreciate all of the effort that you, the law team, and Shirley, I can't forget Shirley, all of the effort that you have put into trying to get information out to us about the insurance. Thank you.
Let me just say, if you guys have any specific questions about insurance, you can call me, you can send me an email, and I'll try and respond as best I can. As I said, I know there's information going up on the website very shortly. We'd hope to, I don't know exactly when it's going up there, it's up to IT, but it'll be there, and you should hopefully answer many of your questions. And this is all material that's come directly from the broker. So, all righty, guys, I'm going to bail unless you don't need me for anything else, so I'm going to bail.
Okay,
Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy your warm weather, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And with that, we go into the second I, with Yvonne Hill from headquarters. Yvonne, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate your inviting me here to speak today. I will try to keep it quick and leave a lot of time for questions. I know that's what most people want. I'm going to share my screen because I'd like to walk through a few of the changes that have taken place. One moment. There we go. Okay. Can you see my screen there, guys? I can't hear you anymore. But I will continue. Let me know if someone raise their hand if you can't hear me. You can't hear me, Mary Page?
I'm sorry, I can.
We are not aiming for either of you. Yvonne, raise your hand if you can't hear me. Now, just a double magnet. We can hear you fine.
I can hear you now. I can. Thank you. Okay. I'm sharing my screen. I just wanted to show you guys the new reports. I think that's one of the most useful aspects that are available in IMIS right now. And graciously thank Barbara Wolf for allowing me to use her login. There is a new way to get, we do have district permissions. If you are a district admin officer, you should see a button like this that says to manage districts. I'm going to go into Barbara's section here for Sarasota Power Squadron. We've got a few items on this panel, some forms, your local events, a calendar of events, as well as the manuals. All of the updated manuals for the system are going to be placed here. There will always be the latest version. Working on a new version of the committee administrator manual and the chapter admin manual. So those will be up in the next few weeks. But on reports, a couple of things I wanted to point out. Current members is a great one to use for your roster. You can download it as an Excel or a CSV file, bring it into your Excel, use it for mail merges, use it for creating a lovely version of your roster, use it for Constant Contact or whatever email platform that you use. We've got an ACH report that you can use to make sure that what we sent you and reconcile your bank account. So if you run that report, you'll get a list of payments to you from headquarters for the members in your squadron or district. It's the same at the district level. I've worked on this report right here, outstanding invoices. I just wanted to point out one thing for you. I've included a direct pay link. When your members receive an emailed invoice from headquarters, and we send out typically 3 invoices if people don't pay, between times, they'll the most they would get would be 3 emailed invoices and 1 mailed invoice, generally about a month apart. But if you have noticed that you've got some folks who they're active members, but they just have not had a chance to pay, you can use this report, export it to Excel or a CSV file and run a mail merge. And you could use this direct pay link. It is not hyperlinked, so you can use this directly to send them the link to pay. So when you copy and paste this into your mail program or use it in a merge, it will create a hyperlink that is a direct pay link, meaning they do not have to log into the system. Some people never logged into the old system, and they don't have to log into the new system if they wish. They can use this link to pay online without having to log in. If you are going to see them at the meeting and you want to hand them a copy of their invoice, You can use these links to download invoices directly to your computer and print them out, or email them as attachments to folks. This feature takes a moment to generate. It's generating a copy on the fly of someone's invoice. And once it's populated, and my bandwidth is probably limited due to this call, but once it's populated, you export it to a PDF and it downloads it into your downloads folder. And you can use that as you wish to try to encourage folks to get those renewal fees paid. We've got a new search option that I will be writing a detailed account of in the next manual, how to use this to your best advantage. As you can see, you've got lots of options. You can use a combination of these options. You can search on certificate number. You can even add in, if you needed to find out who passed away, you could add in that information. You could search for people whose membership has been suspended for non-payment or are inactive. Say you've got some folks who are in your area 5 years ago, they've moved back, they want to join your squadron. You can find their certificate numbers by searching on inactive folks. If you're doing a special award ceremony and you need to find out who has 10 merit marks, you could search on 10 merit marks and get a list of those folks as well. So it's pretty useful, but it takes some, you've got to be willing to play around with it. I've continued to keep the old reports up there for people who want them. But I would encourage you to use this outstanding invoices report to try to get folks to renew. If you're a treasurer, you may want to use this if you're budgeting for the year. This includes all the membership categories in your squadron and the counts. And so all you would need to use are what you are charging for folks to determine how much income you can receive from that. And you can export this to Excel and do your calculations over there. So that's a quick rundown on the reports. Things to come. We will have some updated manuals soon, like I mentioned, national and district views, so that you can search on particular members who are not in your squadron. Currently, you can do that. I can show you. Barbara Erickson definitely is not in Sarasota Squadron, but you can search on members by name and pull up their record and get some very limited information from them. You'll also get an email address and phone, so that's something you can do right now. If you click on the hyperlink, you will get some additional information. You could get some information about, say, the ship store roster. You could get an entire list of those folks. So that's pretty robust at the moment. For national and district folks, those permissions are coming for elevated information. So I ask for your patience on all of those to-do features. Christy Anderson is working on getting events up for folks. So I believe that the meeting in Grand Rapids will all be on the IMIS system. So she's currently working on that right now. If you go to events and look for national events, you should see those listing. Not much information is up there right now, but she has some basic posts up, so she will get that up very shortly. We are working on, I just wanted to clarify membership billing. I get this question a lot. So people say, well, when do we bill 2 months out from your anniversary month, starting with one invoice that goes out. It's an email from the chief with an attached invoice, and recently we put in how to log in, but you don't have to log in. At the bottom of that email is a Renew Now button, and that is that direct pay link for folks. So all they have to do is click that link and pay dues online without having to log in. We also attach a copy of the email invoice so they can see who exactly, especially useful for families, who is on my invoice so they can see that, because the direct pay link is only a summary, so it doesn't provide that detail. So I think that that's a very useful piece of knowledge to have. If they don't renew, they'll get a mailed invoice approximately 3 to 5 weeks later, depending on what USPS, the other USPS, is doing. And then they'll get a second notice by email, the same thing with an attached invoice. I'm working on the ability to copy that second notice to commanders so that they will know when people are almost ready to be due. They can forward that information to membership chairs, but it's much easier for us to contact the commanders because that's usually more stable. And then they'll get, if they don't pay then, they've had 3 chances, we'll send them another notice, a third notice when their membership is about ready to expire or has just expired, depending on the timing of that. So that's 4 opportunities, plus the opportunities in the reports for membership chairs or whoever manages membership in your squadron to get those invoice details to folks. Let them know they don't have to log in, but if they want to make sure their membership information is correct, check their email address, their phones, and their addresses, they can log in, or they can always give their chapter administrator that information and have them update that information for them. So let's see, I'm working on associate and honorary members. I know that's a big, it's an important feature for some squadrons. So I've already created the membership types, and so I'm just simply working on getting those forms together. I will put that information on either this page or the management page where you add your new members. I don't want to confuse it with, I don't want to get folks confused to add individual accounts or family accounts, because these are paid accounts, which we will bill your squadron for. So I will most likely put it on the previous page to add honorary members, or make it very, very clear that you're adding a non-member account. You're simply adding someone who is not paying dues, and we would not collect dues for associate members. That's just not in the bylaws for us to do. Just want to mention this right here. We've included this information because it happens a lot, especially in South Florida. You've got a lot of voting students in and you want to make them 18-month members. We're asking you not to use this form, but to send that information directly to headquarters, to the membership staff, so that they can merge their student records and create IMIS records out of them. That will eliminate duplicate records from populating in IMIS. It happened a lot in the old system, but most members didn't have visibility of all that, so you didn't know how many duplicates we have. We'd like to minimize the duplicates in the new system. So the same goes for reinstatements and transfers. Send that information directly to headquarters. It's really quick for them to get those in place, and they'll take care of that right away. If you have any questions on emailing members, please let me know. There are some new reports in here, and since this form is used for districts and squadrons, it can be confusing. So I will be being very clear in the next admin manual which queries you need to use to email your squadron. Right now, I think it's it might, if you've done this before, chapter administrators and chapter member recipients are the squadron reports, queries that you can use to email folks, and the others are district. But I'll work on making that more clear, since I can't filter it out so that you only see what's available to you. but you can always test it by going to filter recipients and seeing who is in your list. And if it's a good thing to check too, unless you're like Cape Coral and you've got over 500 members, that might be difficult, but it's a good idea just to make sure you're looking at the correct list before you send an email out. It's always a good idea to put a good subject line with these emails, and letting people know in the body of the email to not reply to the email address. For deliverability, it's coming from the headquarters email, but you want people to reply directly to you. So you might want to include that at the very top or the very bottom, or perhaps both of your email before you send that out. So I just wanted to address that concern for email. I've gotten that question quite a bit. What you can look forward in the future. We're working on getting micro sites out. So for squadrons using the standard squadron site, we'll have an option available on IMUS that'll pull dynamic information from your squadron, including your roster and other information, your events. So all of that is synced up very much like it was in the standard squadron site. And there will be some ability to edit that information as well. There are built-in permissions in the system to allow that. I don't know if, let me see, I'm gonna check out Barbara's account really quick to see if she's a committee administrator. I wanted to talk about that for just a second. Yeah, here we go. So on your participation tab, if you are trying to update your committee roster, your OD, unfortunately right now you need to do it both on USPS.org and in the portal, because the permissions aren't in a way that they can be shared directly, because they are in completely different formats. The old system uses job codes, the new system uses some different definitions that are native to this system. But if you do, this is where you would find it. My account, go to my account, go to your preferences, or participation tab rather, and committees and ODs. And we've given committee permissions directly to the commander. It's very easy to share those permissions, or if you can always email me or anyone else at headquarters and let us know if you're the commander that you need someone else to take those permissions. We can assign that in seconds, but it's pretty easy to do. If you need a roster or you want to check who is on your committee, you have a report built in that will allow you to look at your current members, or if you've just input members for your future change of watch and you want to double check your work, you can select that, click Run the Report, and as you see, we don't have any future members for Sarasota Squadron, but if we did, we could export it to a PDF or an Excel and get that information. You can also look at all of the people, anyone who's held a job in your squadron, and this applies to the district as well. The same pathways apply, the same type of permission structure applies at both levels, but you could run a report for everyone who's ever held a job, see their begin and end dates. If you wanted to look at the history, this is where the history of all your jobs are stored. So it's a good tool. So let me go back. Well, there we go. Okay, so that was ODs. I know I have run through these changes pretty quickly. I didn't want to take too much of your time, but I wanted to leave a lot of time for questions. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions?
Hi, Yvonne. Michael Cole, San Carlos Bay Power Squadron.
Hi, Michael.
I just have one question about the email system. Is there any way in the future we can make it so that the email does not have the email come from the headquarters email? It can come from our squadron. It's very confusing, and we're still getting emails sent to us from headquarters saying this came from a squadron member, even though we put on the emails to respond to the person who was sending it out.
I mean, yeah, the problem with that, and I just want to go and verify.
Before you answer that, thank you for all the hard work you do. We are constantly bombarding you, and I appreciate the help you give us.
You're very welcome. That is my job, and I am happy to help any way I can. And I want to reiterate that, not just me, but everyone at headquarters. If you need us, that's what we're there for. Let's see if right now we can't change this, but I could set it up. I mean, I could pretty easily set it up so you could put in your own email. However, the problem with that is that you can't ensure deliverability. Many ISPs, if it sees this email coming from this domain, because this email is registered for use with this domain, it includes, I don't know if you know much about how email deliverability works, but there are a lot of records like DKIM, SPS that are used to associate a domain with an email address to ensure deliverability. So this email address, or whatever email address we had decided to use, would be associated with this domain and ensure deliverability. If I did allow you to put your own email address in there, it may be delivered, it may not be delivered, depending on the ISP of the receiver and what their policies were. And sometimes, sometimes they're very strict, sometimes they're fairly lax. So that's the problem there. We opted for higher deliverability. One thing you could do would be include an email in the CC field, and that might help. It does not, I mean, I monitored this account, but I don't see a flood. Occasionally I will forward them on when we get them, but it's not a huge consideration. So think about that. If you think about it and get back to me and there's a large enough consensus around it, I don't mind making this optional, with the caveat that your email may not be delivered.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know how to do it. If you run one of the reports with your members,
And then
just copy down the email addresses and put them in the to field in your emails, and it comes from you.
I can do that too. My problem is the person who sends the emails is working off an iPad, and she can't do it with.
Right.
She can't do it with that.
I do.
You can all she's using this system, and I can't get rid of it.
Hi, John Seaman with Sanibel Captiva.
Hi, John.
I too want to thank you for your hard work. We've obviously had many conversations, but none lately, which means things are definitely going better. But just a couple questions. You mentioned that if we have to change the OD information, we have to do it in both places now?
Still.
That is correct.
And when are we going to stop having to do that?
That's not a question I can answer. It's really based on IT.
Okay.
What I know, a lot of their programs were handwritten, and everything they've done was hand-coded specifically for job codes. And they've told me that it's very difficult for them to transfer that. They do have access now to be able to API into the system, and they've had it for quite some time. So I believe they are working on a method to API in and be able to get that job information from IMIS.
Okay.
The problem
So bottom line is we have to update the information in both places until
Yeah.
further notice. Okay.
and I don't have control on that, John. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I've got access to one of the systems, but I don't have access to the other, so I can obviously only do so much.
Delegate.
My last question is on the current member report. What is the selection criteria for that?
It's members who are active greater than or equal to today, plus women's certificate holders. Women's certificate holders don't have a paid through date because they're not technically paid members. So that's what's the selection there. If you wanted to include the 2-month grace period, you could run that on one of the other reports, with using paid through dates, at this, say today minus 60, right? And do that.
So when you say women members, you mean part of a family group?
No, the old.
Oh, the old. That's before my time.
Well, we still have about 400, so we don't want to. We want to keep them in there and take them seriously. So they're there.
Hi, I'm Matt Cuber from Anna Maria Squadron. I'm commander. I appreciate you spending time to go over this with us. I have to tell you that I find the instructions available online to be very lacking in understandability.
Okay.
And it really limits my ability as a commander to do my job, filling out OD forms, filling out new member forms. I don't know where to go, where to send information to. I've got 6 members that I don't know how to enter in my squadron. Without the help of the district, I could not have gotten my OD forms done this year, and I don't think we got them done at all last year. Can you go over like step by step, or maybe email me a step-by-step procedure to follow to do the job that I have to do to keep my squadron current?
Sure. Now, what's your last name?
Kuber.
Oh, Cooper. Okay. Yeah. I will be happy to do that with you. I will also be welcome to offer a one-on-one Zoom session where you're operating your computer and I am I'm navigating while you do that. That might be, sometimes that's easier for folks to learn how. My next version of the chapter admin manual, I'm going to include how to do OD, or the committee administrator manual, how to do ODs in the old system as well, because I have been provided that information by IT. So I'm trying to close this information loop, but I will send you an email on Monday with some instructions, and then it sounds like maybe it's just we need to set up a time to do a one-on-one, training session.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I've been to every IMAS course that we've had at the district level and national for the last 2 years now. There's been 4 or 5 courses. Every time I come away with nothing from these sessions.
Disappoints me, so I'm happy to help. Let's get together and make
Thank
that
you.
happen.
Make sure when you email me to put your contact information in.
Oh, sure, definitely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hey, Yvonne, it's Miles.
Hi, Miles.
I want to really thank you so much for being here and everything you've done. And just to let everybody know, I've done the one-on-one with Yvonne, and not only through the computer, but at an actual meeting. Here's my question. A week and a half ago, I went to send a mass email to our district, and I love how IBIS you could structure the email. It looks beautiful. But when I went to send it, I thought, well, I'm going to go through Manatee's roster. And I think I sent you a note on it. And I found some dead people, some people that have been members for several years. So I decided
I did not know everybody, the 1,600 members that well. I know a lot of them, but not that well. So I sent it out through the info center, which you cannot structure. And I'm just throwing that out so you could maybe do another one-on-one or tell me what I'm doing wrong, okay?
Okay. I'll take a look at that. I'll also take a look at Manatee's roster. I have to admit that I looked at all the squadron queries, but I did not, once they delivered the district component, I did not dive deep into those. So I'll take another look at those queries and see exactly what they're pulling and make sure they're only pulling active members. Okay?
So looking at just Manatee on itself, without the district, when I go to that roster, it looks great. It looks like we have all the right members. It's when I did the 1,500 or 1,600 member district mailing, okay?
It sounds like a quick fix. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you dearly.
You're welcome.
She's a great driver, by the way. She picked me up at an airport. All right, Miles.
Thank you, Miles. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us virtually. We would have loved to have been able to fly you down, but it was a limited time budget.
Well, thank you all for your questions. Call me, send me an email if you've got any problems with the system or if you see anything weird. That will help. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Strange trip it's been.
And if you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen so that Tammy can then show up.
Definitely. There we go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Now, before I introduce Tammy, just to let you know how important District 22 is, just to let you know, we have a past chief commander sitting here. We have the current chief commander. We also have the current XO listening in as well. So all we had to do was tell them, this is what D22 is doing, and look who we got showing up. Without any further ado, one of the options that we have of extending our reach into the community, and you all know that I am a strong advocate of outreach in the community, is through social media. And we've been working as an organization with Marine SEO for about a year. And Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, the contract has been re-signed just recently.
It has.
And it goes into effect today?
May 1st.
Today? Oh, yesterday. But there have been some changes in the scope of work.
There are conditions because of the amount of money that we had to pay to begin with, which we could not sustain. And so I'm sure Tammy has been up. There's going to be a communication put out. Tammy's working with Jenna.
Yep.
For that communication to outline the conditions and the codicils that are going to be in place with the new agreement.
Well, with the new agreement, with some differences in roles, one of the things I wanted Tammy to talk about is things that the squadron needs to do to prepare their Facebook page for Marine SEO's term is optimization. It really is filling in the blanks to make it easier for people to find you. What you can do to get your Facebook presence ready for Marine SEO to help you. Now, the key is they're not going to do everything for you. Squadrons retain ownership of their Facebook presence. They retain responsibility for creating and posting content. But Marine SEO is going to give us advice on how to make our content more applicable to the boating community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy Brown. Tammy, it's all yours.
Can't hear you.
Tammy, are you muted? Are you muted, Tammy?
She's not muted. I see a red dot. No, that's somebody else.
Thank you, Ron, and hello, D22. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, hi. How's it going?
So far, so good.
Y'all look so excited. So good to see all of you. Okay, so what we're going to discuss this afternoon is Facebook optimization. There's a lot of digital platforms that we introduced at the beginning of 24, and we're still going to offer all those platforms going forward, but as Ron and Chief knows, that we are splitting the duties because of, mainly for financial reasons, and the other reasons that we want to continue to offer all the opportunities for the squadrons that you had previously before the contract changed with Marine SEO. But today we're going to talk about just Facebook optimization, and I'm going to talk a little bit, and then I want to answer all of your questions because every squadron seems that they're on a different spectrum of getting ready to be optimized for Facebook optimization. So there's squadrons that are all over the place, and that's perfectly fine. But what we're going to do now is talk about how you can get ready to have the first call with Jenna from Marine SEO. Many of you know Jenna. She's a great friend of ours, and Jenna will still continue to optimize your squadron Facebook pages. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Again, can you guys hear me okay? Thumbs up, Miles? Okay. All right. So there's some work on your end that you have to do before you contact Jenna to optimize your Facebook page. And we just want to go through those reasons or lists and why, because the list is not long, but there's a real reason that we're asking you to do these things before you have a call with Jenna, so that you can be perfectly prepared to optimize your squadron on that very first call. It helps to have these things in place. So the first thing, when you're ready and you're saying to your squadron, says we're ready for our Facebook to be optimized, the very first thing you need to do is to assign 2 Facebook administrators. We have so many examples that one goes on vacation, or we can't find the volunteer, or they've been missing for several years. So if that's the case, then you have to find that volunteer and the credentials. But starting fresh, make sure that you have more than one admin, at least 2. So that admin has the login credentials. They can go in and change, update your Facebook page at any point. The other thing is kind of funny is that we don't recommend that if you're going out of a town on a vacation and you're going together, that you're not the same administrators. You need an administrator that's going to at least be there so that you can reach that administrator and change things as often as you want to. So that's the very first thing. The second thing that's going to help your squadron get optimized better is to have a physical address. If you don't have a squadron that owns the building, often the squadron commander uses their address. And so why do we need an address? Simply because Google is going to track that address and geofence around that address to bring people to your Facebook page. So if your squadron commander doesn't want his or her address to be on the Facebook page, then find someone that does not mind their Facebook address, their home address being on the Facebook page. If you meet at a facility, a Boys and Girls Club, or a church at all the same time, you can put that church or a facility's address on there. They're not going to get mail. It's just going to allow Google to find you better if you have a specific address. So that's another thing you need to have ready before you talk to Jenna. And then, so let's say I live in Raleigh, so I'm going to put our Blue Ridge Road address on Raleigh. What I'm also going to do is I have the ability to add up to 9 additional cities. That gives Google a bigger search. So I'm going to include Raleigh, Wake County, Durham, Chapel Hill, Nightdale, Orange County, Falls Lake, anything that at least 10 opportunities that are around at least 100 miles or closer to you. And so I suggest that you not usually use like a Raleigh, North Carolina address. Use the county. Use the following county, which is Chapel Hill, Orange County, Durham, which is Durham County, and Nash, which is Rocky Mount. So use those 10 opportunities so the reach is greater. That's why we need a physical address. So the third thing we need is a local phone number and an email address. So most of the time, the person that offers their number, it normally says, "Thank you for calling America's Boating Club, United States Power Squadron. How can I help you?" If you don't have that ability to have a dedicated phone line, then have someone volunteer that they can check the messages regularly on a daily basis and get back to that potential prospect member or someone that may want to take a class or have a question about your upcoming event. So the number that you publish really needs to be one that's monitored and has a quick turnaround so that you can build your brand and build your reputation. They really got back to me. They really want me to be part of their family and part of their club. That's the reason for the phone number. The email address is something that's really important. For example, I think Mike Waddell's on the phone. So Mike has a personal address. So does Ralph Bernard. He has a personal address. They also have a squadron address. For example, Commander Brown, Raleigh at gmail.com. So if I'm the commander of the Raleigh Squadron, I would use Commander Raleigh at gmail.com. That way, when my term as squadron is over, then I can turn it over to the next squadron, and they can have credentials for that email. That way there's no lack of service, and you're not stuck with a 2 to 3 week period of finding out the previous squadron, the previous PR officer, or the previous education officer. So I recommend that you have a generic email that several people can change, and then when their term expires, the new volunteer can pick right up from that email. It makes it a lot easier. And you can use both. You can use Commander Raleigh at gmail.com, Tammy Brown at gmail.com. You can put them both in, but I just recommend as a leadership transfer, so does the email and credentials. Does that make sense to everyone? Great. Okay, so the last thing is to be ready for the call is go ahead and have a high-res version of your Burgie ready. So, I'm trying to give you all the tips so that when you have that call with Jenna and Marine SEO, their team, that you have everything in place so that you're ready to go and set up your website with her, set up your Facebook profile right there. And so by the time you're off the call in 60 minutes, you're well on your way to having your Facebook page optimized. So have your Burgie ready. And then the last thing, that if you've looked at some of the Facebook pages that have been optimized, there's a nice high-quality photo image in there that reminds the visitor of Milwaukee, of New York, of California. So the Marine SEO team will choose a photo stock that will remind the visitor of that city. It could be a lake or beach. It could be a downtown skyline, but it will be something that the visitor will recognize. I'm at the right place. I believe that is the Raleigh skyline, and so that picture will resonate as well. And then your local Burgie will be on the page, the first page as well. So it connects America's Boating Club to your local squadron, brand to brand. It's very strong brand positioning. So that's really, it sounds simple, but it makes everybody's life a lot easier to track these things down ahead of time, so that when you're on the your call comes with Jenna, that you are prepared and ready, and that you all have everything that you need to have your Facebook page optimized. So that sounds pretty easy. So I know there's been the challenges that I've heard and have dealt with is that we don't know the commander's email. We don't know who has the password and such. So those are things that you need to try to track down before you have a call with Jenna, so that your call will go very smooth, and at the end of the call you'll feel really good. You have a great looking Facebook page, and you can start to get traction immediately, because every squadron's different, but every squadron that has optimized, the traffic goes up, because you've got all the right ingredients to be found. When someone's looking for a boating class or a squadron club near them, you're going to pop up. And I'd love to take any questions you have, any challenges you have that can maybe help you try to troubleshoot today while I'm here with you guys.
Right. Before we get the first question, Tammy mentioned having a high-quality image of clergy. Well, just as a matter of fact, Documents and Heritage, thank you, Anna, has gone through and uploaded all very good quality images that you can use. They're on the national site. So that's a source of a good quality image that can be used to brand your squadron. Right.
Thank you,
Good
Anna.
afternoon.
You're welcome.
Mike Silve from Manatee.
Hi,
So,
Mike. How are you?
Hi. Doing well. I have been optimized, so
Great.
it's good. Jenna was fantastic. It's all good. So part of that discussion that we had with Jenna was Google Business and getting a Google grant for advertising. Is that still part of the new contract, or did that go away?
Chief, do you want to take that one, or do you?
That's still part of the new contract. It's just the amount of squadrons they're going to be doing each month is going to be less because of financial reasons. So,
because
they're still going to apply for business for the grants, but it may not be as quick as it was before, because before it was unlimited squadrons per month, but we were paying a whole lot more than we're paying now.
Gotcha.
So it's the squadron's going to be less. And what's going to happen is that, I know Tammy's working on it with the Marine SEO folks, putting a communication out, exactly giving what the conditions and the councils are going to be with the new contract. Because, as Tammy said, it's more financial reasons than everything else. We went from $20,000 a month to a whole lot less.
Okay. Yeah, because the good news is I was approved for the Google grant, which is great. The bad news is I don't know what that means. I don't know what the terms are, what it gets me. Yeah.
It's Google advertising. It's not like you're getting 10 grand.
Yeah, and I'll give everyone a word of warning. If you do, once Google gets your phone number, you're going to get a ton, I almost said a bad word, of spam calls. Especially right after you sign up, getting calls like every other hour. Oh, we've noticed that your Google account is not properly set up. Click here to talk to an agent, blah, blah, blah. So, and when you talk to someone, it's obviously overseas and they're scammers. So,
Tammy?
Two answers to you, Mike. We will work with you still to build out your Google profile.
Okay.
That's still going to be part of the package. So there's no services that are going to be dropped. It's going to look a little bit different. The staff is going to look a little bit different, but we will still do that. And the good news is that Ron and I will work directly with each of your squadrons to have a specific plan on what you want to do with your Google ad, your $10,000 spend, because all squadrons have different priorities. You may want to say a 4th of July program's coming up, Memorial Day. You may want to promote a class. So we're going to work directly with you so that you get your goals met by the ads you put on Google Ads.
Good.
Tammy, maybe we could include Mike on the invitations to the weekly calls.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
We'd love to have you.
Get your holiday calls.
Hi, I'm Michael Cole from San Carlos Bay. I have this one question. You've referred to getting in touch with Jenna of Marine SEO several times. How do we get in touch with Jenna of Marine SEO?
Well, there's a change there because of the cost. Chief and the other board of directors think it's really important that we pipeline the squadrons through in the fastest way possible. So I'm going to manage the process on how quickly you get to Jenna and how quickly you get to the rest of the services, and it's first come, first serve. I mean, so we're going to have a massive spreadsheet. We're going to have all of your information up there, and we will get to you once your turn is on deck.
So how do we do that?
Bottom line, get in touch with
Tammy. And how do we get in touch with Tammy?
Yeah.
So I don't know if Ron is sharing my screen, but I sent Ron these notes that I'm going over with you, and it has my email address on it, but it's Brown, BROWNT, at hq.usps.org.
Right on the website. Staff.
Brown T at hq.usps.org.
And I just got an email while we were in the session from Tammy. That and the recording of the three sessions will be posted on the District 22 website shortly.
Thank you.
The other thing is that Ron, myself, and Jenna are looking at the Outlook email all the time. So we're aware when you're getting optimized if your squadron EIN number is available. So we will be working very closely with you in a timely manner to get to you.
Kelly Seaman from SANCAP.
Hi, Kelly.
Squadron, how are you? Thanks to Mary Page, who saw me at an event 2 or 3 months ago and handed me Jenna's card, which was great. Evidently, the original communication of this went to the commanders directly. Is that a year ago? Is that correct?
Sort of.
Oh my God, it went everywhere.
Yeah, it was just sign over your administrative.
Well, I mean, we found
That one.
Sanibel Captiva found out about it about 2.5 months before the end of the contract. Thank God it's been extended. At any rate, Ed and I, he's the XO, I'm the AO, we got on with Jenna. I'm assuming we can continue then because we've already set ours up and we're going. We don't have to have any limitations going forward with the new contract. I'm reaching out to Jenna. I'm reaching out to Jenna directly.
Okay. If you're for Facebook, yes.
Not for Google.
No. The communication's coming out very soon, as Chief Bernard said, but Ron and I will be taking on more of the Google platforms, and Jenna will be focused more on Facebook, and it's simply a way to get all of the squadron's services as quickly as possible. We're spreading out the team.
And if we've already worked with Jenna on Google, then we should go to you if we have anything else and questions or issues or whatnot.
You'll be transferred over to us. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tammy. Mark Koski from Lakeland. So,
hi, Mark.
This is good. Well, hello. I don't mean this to be a complaint, but I'm just going to say it, and then I have a compliment. So the communication that came out about a year ago was interpreted by our executive committee was like, hey, give us access to your Facebook and we're going to control everything. And we said, absolutely not. You cut us, we bleed red. You're not taking away our rights. No. So after, and I have to get Miles is not in here now.
with me on that.
So Miles Gee and where's Mike Silva? Yeah. So thank you, Manatee. After talking with those guys and my executive committee, we reluctantly were like, okay, let's test this waters. They already did, so we piggybacked on them. And we had a meeting just last week ago, last Friday, with my SEO and my ASEO. And Jenna is absolutely wonderful to work with. So here's a question for Ralph, our chief commander, is Jenna did know what the new contract is going to read. So we've already, she's in the same meeting in an hour. It was absolutely wonderful. I'm telling you guys, you're not giving up your rights. She just worked magic and made it look so much better so fast. So I highly recommend everybody do it. But what is included and what's not? Jenna didn't know. She didn't know how to answer my questions. But it's not only Facebook. I am not a social media guy. I've never had Facebook, never will. Don't have Instagram, don't have any of that crap, won't have it. So I relied on my officers to do that portion of it. But the other portion I use extensively is the Google Maps and the Google Business. She set all that up for us all in the same meeting, instantly, right in front of us. So now, like, we can see it. It looks really pretty. We have now 3 officers have access to it. We're updating that. And I can already tell you it's worth it. It didn't cost us anything. But my main question is, what's new, Ralph? What is now different? Is Google Business not included? I don't know what. Jenna couldn't answer us. So we don't know.
Well, Jenna couldn't answer because I just signed the contract on the 29th.
Yeah, so she said, she goes, it's renewing. We don't know what's included. We don't know what's not included. But she did the Facebook. She held off on she did the business, Google Business. But she said, I can't do any of the grants. We don't know what. She said, stay tuned. So there's the question is, like, what now is involved in the contract to put you on the spot?
Of course, I don't know.
So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mark.
If you're a little closer to the mic, we're recording those, so everybody can hear your reaction.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's not what I want.
Hi, Chief.
Hold on, Tim. What's basically new is that the amount of squadrons that they're going to do and optimize every month. And it's going to be a whole lot less than it was. Before it was unlimited. That you call Jenna would make it 10, whatever calls a day or a week or whatever it is. We had a grant. We had money given to us by a squadron member. We used that money to hire Marine SEO to begin with. We paid them $20,000 a month for this. And if you look at it, I've talked to a lot of other people, that wasn't a bad price for what they did. But what they did was that they originally said what the demographics are, our organization. They took probably about 2 months, Tammy, 2 or 3 months, to find out where we fit in with the social media. And they found out through their research that we fit in with Facebook. If we were kind of looking at the 25-year-old, we wouldn't be fitting in with Facebook because they don't do Facebook anymore. We do. So that's when they went into the Facebook and did all this stuff with Facebook. So the new contract is going to be a whole lot less about how many squadrons they're going to be able to optimize each month. Now, in that contract, if you want to do more than that, then you can pay for that. Otherwise, it's free. So we went down from 20 to 6. And that 6 is affordable, but 20 was just not feasible financially for the organization to continue since the whole thing came from a grant. So now this is coming out of our operational money. So the point is that we didn't want this to be a one and done situation for the squadrons. We gave something. We had something, and I don't know. I know the gentleman just said there was confusion. I have no idea how that confusion started, because in this organization I've found since I've been on the bridge that we are the biggest rumor people in the entire world. And you can disagree with me all you want, and we'll talk about that later. But the point is that it was very. We had them at every national meeting, and I attended almost every one of their sessions, and never once did they say they were taking over their Facebook page. How that got to be, I don't know. But the point is that
Their initial email is what caused that, and it took 10 months for that to get corrected.
I'm not going to argue with you, but I wrote the Dadler an email, and I never said anything about somebody taking over a Facebook page.
No, but you didn't say what was going to happen when the administrative rights were handed over. It just said...
I didn't say hand it over. And, never mind. Okay, I'll say something I shouldn't say in a minute.
I will get that.
So, that's the difference in the contract. Is going to be the amount of squadrons that they're going to be able to help every month. But that'll be, as Tammy said, that'll go into a queue, and first come, first serve, and then through Tammy and her, then they're going to be able to, then they'll set you up with Jen.
How many squadrons per month are going to be selected?
It's probably about 2 to 4.
How many are done now? How many are already set up?
What are we're over around 60, 50 to 60?
Yes.
I know it's over 50.
It's 59.
We had a whole bunch right before the contract ended, which was good.
So just to clarify, we're already signed up. We're already set up. We did this in the first contract. So the 6,000 is for national?
No,
Not
it's
just-
for new. It's for new people to start.
It's
For
for
new
basically
people
new people.
only.
Yeah. Yes.
So if I go to Jen, and like I said earlier,
Go through Tammy first.
okay.
Go through Tammy first, and then she'll set you up.
Okay.
That way, because I don't want you to get charged by Marine SEO for something
Exactly.
that's that was part of and when we were doing the contract, that was part of the sticking point, that I don't want them to nickel and dime us to death. So if you contact them, they say, okay, well, National owes us, $350 an hour or whatever.
But you'll also make sure, in the thick of things, that the 6,000 is being used. That it's not that because people aren't reaching out to do it. Okay.
Well, we're
Which
going to
happens
monitor
all the time.
that with Tammy every month.
Yeah.
Well, it's a year contract, so we're going to monitor also what it is as far as membership is concerned,
And if
the amount of likes, et cetera.
And in the first contract, we did apply with Jenna for the grant.
Yes.
But I have not heard anything either. So how would I find that out?
Well, Tammy's going to be our direct liaison.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Thank you, Chief.
All right, let me slip over here to the mic, Tammy.
Okay, Ron.
No, I don't have any hard questions for you. Thank you so much.
No, I love the questions. They're all good.
Thank you so much for coming on this afternoon and answering questions and letting people know that you're approachable. If they have questions, send them to you. At the same time, I'm going to make yet another pitch. How many of you like free money? How many of you like free money? I want to show of hands. Okay. Take advantage of the co-op advertising program. If you advertise, write up what you spent it on, send in a sample of it. It can be a video. It can be a screen capture. You send it to either Tammy or to the rear commander of the marketing committee, who I happen to know real well.
Yeah. Because you're looking at him.
I will look at it and send it to the rest of the team for approval. If you have spent $500 on advertising and it's approved, you're going to get a check back for $250. If you spend $2,000 on advertising and you send it in, you're going to get a check back for $600. That's the limit. But advertise. There's free advertising on any number of platforms, but there's paid advertising that sometimes can be utilized very effectively, and squadrons tend to take a look at it and go, oh, we can't afford that. Well, here's a program that you can get money back to supplement your advertising budget. Fort Myers.
And it doesn't have to be advertising in print advertising. It could be banners or other things that you need to support your event. Anything that's a marketing related expense was favorably looked upon by the committee because we want to help you and support you. So just don't think of, oh, you have to got to put a print ad in the newspaper or the Yacht Club newsletter. It could be marketing covers a lot of things. So call Ron or myself if you have questions. If you think you fit, you usually will.
Hey, I have a comment if I can.
It's a full Word document if anyone needs it.
$300. $300, I'm sorry. I'm spending your money. What?
It's retroactive because we bought your matter like a year ago. For negative. Literally negative.
No.
Get the invoice changed.
The information has been out. We're in the second year of this program, so if you spend money, send it in this year. I'll give you an example. Fort Myers, St. Carlos Bay, Cape Coral, and Sanibel went together to pay for an ad in the Visitors to Southwest Florida magazine, and they printed up just thousands of these stupid things, and they put them out everywhere. They split the money 4 ways to pay for the ad, and it was a nice quarter-page ad. So you don't have to sit there and say, well, we can't afford it by ourselves. Collaborate with other squadrons. You're going to hear that term a lot. Work with other squadrons to have joint advertising. Yes, Ted?
Can we do this on a yearly basis?
As long as the chief and the board of directors say we have advertising money to spend, let's spend it. Ron?
What you were just talking about, honestly, is what I was hoping this meeting was about. Not just the running SEO, but what we do after that. What are the things beyond just having a Facebook page?
Advertising.
We're going to have another class on that sometime in the near future.
We can
Don't know anything about it.
we can have an online session with the squadrons with Tammy and myself, and I'll put on my marketing committee hat and tell you how to fill out the paperwork to get the reimbursement, what has been successful, and we've got some really good examples of things that have been successful. We did tell one squadron who came to us and asked, will this qualify? We're going to pay a company to design our website. No. But if they had said we're going to have these feather banners to promote vessel safety checks, oh, absolutely. They have beautifully designed banners. That's advertising. A website itself, we didn't feel like fell under the advertising budget. But if you want a free conference call session on how to go about getting the money for the co-op ad program, we'll be more than happy to do that.
Okay, let's get it right. Absolutely, let's get it right.
Okay.
Yes.
Michael.
The form that you have to fill out is a PDF form. I have converted it to a Word document, so if anybody wants it as a Word document, contact me, I'll email it to you.
I think the next squadrons can fill out the document and mail the stuff to me.
But if somebody wants it as a Word document, we'll make it available.
So we're willing to work with squadrons on getting the money back.
Every month we rent a boat, we,
How about my document?
Sunset, and we, if we fly our banner on it, why can't we just cut some of that?
We can pay for the banner, but not for the boat. We're talking about now, when you go in and have the shrink wrap on the boat, that's going to be a hard one for me to say no to, but I would. Yes, sir.
And boat registration for boat shows. Does it cover the registration fee for a boat show if we have a boat?
I try to beat the operator of the boat show into giving you the booth because you're a 501c3. And if that won't work, then Chief? Chief?
Try.
If they're advertising, if they're handing out materials for membership and taking courses, At the boat show. At the boat show.
You're still only going to get $300 a year.
But
Okay. I mean, that's for your committee. I'm not going to micromanage your committee.
no, that's one thing I would say about working for the chief when he said so. He never micromanaged us.
Well, I would say that's a committee, but you're still only talking about like you're talking about a book. You're still only talking about $300. That's your max.
Yeah,
It's not that you can put in a $600 to get $300, and 2 months later put another $600 to get another $300. $300 is the max for the year.
And we do
for a fiscal year.
What we would be things like pictures of the food. How many people did you reach? How many members were involved in that? Maybe a return on investment. At this boat show, we had 8 people sign up for classes. But you would return on your advertising investment and something like that. I've got one vote. I do look at it favorably.
Tammy,
Tammy.
I would say I have a vote too. I would support that. And the other thing is, if the committee has questions and we think it doesn't quite fit, we'll call you and ask you, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? And we'll help you shape the grant. We want you to have the reimbursement. So you're looking at 2 of the members, Ron and myself, and so if it doesn't quite fit the criteria, we'll call and ask questions to say, did you really mean this, or how did you do that? So we'll help you and to try to help you get the funding back, because it's really your money and we want you to have it.
All right. Any other quick questions? If not, Tammy, thank you so much. And
thank you. I just have just a real quick, really want to thank Chief Bernard. You have to know that he has worked so hard to get these services continued for all of us. And so thank you to him, and also know that you're not going to be left out in the cold with any of these services. We've already started a squadron Facebook grouply meeting that squadrons that are participating in these services can talk to each other, and it's so fun and so valuable for each commander or whomever they choose to join the call. We have it every week, and it's really, they learn off of each other's best practices and how deals to get new members, and it's just really a good thing. So this is spread beyond what it started, and so thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you. Have a great rest of your conference, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you, Ron.
But before we get off the call, XO, do you have anything to add? I know he's been on mute probably listening to us, but...
he's also a very strong supporter. He's with us all the way.
Yeah, no, I think you guys covered it all pretty much. Yeah, the only I tried to jump in before when you said 600, but it's only 300, but Ralph covered that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, no, and, like Ralph, we will continue to fund the co-op advertising program as long as the money holds out. So.
Okay.
But Mike, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, you guys have a great conference, and don't get Ralph too drunk.
Uh-oh.
Especially since he doesn't drink.
Thank you, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.